Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Danielle and I'm super excited you're here. Today I am partnering up with Connie from Connie's Creative Creations to make some like snow and Santa buddy DIYs. So I'm super excited to show you. If you're new to my channel, we do crafting, cocktails, cooking, all sorts of really good stuff. So let's jump right in. Cheers.
Alright, I am starting out by sketching my figures out on my giant foam board. This one is from Walmart, but you can totally get them at Dollar Tree. I just happened to be at Walmart when I was shopping for my stuff, so I am just sketching it out with a pencil to start. I am looking at reference photos to see kind of the shapes I want. None of them are exactly like the photos, but just to kind of check out what I'm looking at here. So keep that in mind if you do plan on doing this. You don't have to make it all up. You can totally look at a reference photo. I will show you in just a minute when I'm outlining in black so you can see what I'm doing. I just wanted to include this part because I know a lot of you are like, oh my gosh, how did you draw that? But I am actually sketching it out this time, and I am using a reference photo. So don't be shy. You don't have to come up with this on your own. Like I said, you can totally look at a picture or print one out and trace it if you want, whatever you got to do. I end up drawing 3 penguins, and then later on I will be drawing a polar bear as my snow friends for this Snow Friends collab. So now I'm going in with my Posca paint pen. By the way, I'm not sponsored by them. I just love their products. Also, I had a really tough time figuring out angling and lighting for this DIY, so that will not be the only time you see me kind of putzing around. So now I'm just tracing out or outlining the penguins that I drew. I recommend starting with like an egg shape and then adding your wings and your, what are they called? Their feet? I don't know, their feet. But, oh, see, here we go. I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know, guys. This one was a tough one. But anyways, I'm just outlining them to start. I'm going to fill it in with paint in just a minute here. However, I am also going to have to re-outline afterwards. And that's okay. So just keep that in mind as you're doing this, that even though you're outlining now, you will have to do it again later just to crisp up the lines after you paint. And it's totally no big deal if you go over, but the strong outline is really helpful to really see what kind of sections you're working with in terms of painting. You'll see here that all of my penguins have their flippers in different directions. One has them up, one has one up and one down, and one has them all down. You can make this a variety. You could make them all the same. You could have one, laying on its belly and maybe sliding down a hill. This is just how I did it. But I wanted a little bit of variety in each one. They're also all going to be painted different colors. I am using plaid craft paints for these. You can use acrylic or craft paints, but I don't recommend tempera or watercolor, especially because the foam board will wrinkle if you use watercolor, and tempera is washable, which means if it gets wet, it's screwed. This is also kind of a tricky part in the sense of if you're in a really snowy state or a really rainy state, this might not be great because of the foam board. Might get all sorts of like wrinkly and soggy and weird. You could totally, if you have is it compression board? Or, like that thin Masonite. It's called Masonite. You could use that too if you have a jigsaw and you want to cut it out and you want it to be a little bit more permanent. But I'm just making this out of foam board, and I also don't have the stakes to put it outside. These would be super cute out in your yard. I just didn't happen to have stakes, so I'm going to place mine in my window. But get creative with this. So the first penguin I have is a nice pastel pink. The second one is more of like a cobalt blue. And the third one will be the traditional just black penguin. Again, you can vary these and make them however you want, whether they're posing different, they're different colors, whatever you want to do. It's really pretty easy. These are really simple shaped objects or animals, whatever you want to call them. Alright, now I'm going in with some orange and just painting the feet of our little penguins. I did think about varying the like shades of orange with each penguin, but I did want some consistency, so I ended up deciding to paint all of them the same type of orange, and then when we get to the beaks in a little bit, those are a bit of a lighter orange. But I did want some consistency in between the three, so they all are going to have the same like facial expression, and the colors of their feetsies are all the same color orange. Once you've got all the outside areas painted, you're going to go in with some just white paint and paint the inside. Now, I know this seems silly, but number one, it's going to be the same, like, I don't know if I would call it texture, but the same look as the other parts that might be slightly more glossy than just the plain foam board. Number two, it can cover up any mistakes that maybe you accidentally crossed over some of that paint into that center area. So for example, on my blue penguin, there's a little bit on the right side that is that went over the line. So I'm going to cover that with a few coats of white paint. If you didn't make any mistakes, one coat is probably fine. And it's also going to help protect against that winter weather again, and hopefully keep it standing a little bit longer than just wilting right away because it's paper. Like I said, I do one coat, but I do two if it feels like if it's really mismatched in texture of when I'm painting it, or if there is a oopsie that I am covering up here. But I'm not going to show you that whole process because all I'm doing is painting white. Now, they've all been painted white. I'm going into my Posca paint pens and creating eyes by creating ovals, then making a smaller circle or oval in the middle and coloring in all of the rest with black. I will leave these linked for you down in the description box. I bought a multi-pack that had 22 or 24, something like that in there. I don't ever remember, guys. But I really love these paint pens. They are so awesome, and they show up on like any color material. When I first practiced with them, I was using like a dark turquoise color paper. I tried it on cardboard. So it's not just white. They show up really nicely on any material. But if you don't have them, you could paint this part or just use a Sharpie. No big deal. By the way, I'm not going to show you the black one because I had to flip the board a bunch and whatever. So I'm just kind of showing you the steps on the pink and the blue penguin right now. So I started with the eyes, and next I'm going to go in for the beak. Now, originally I did use the orange, one of my orange paint pens, but for some reason it was like being streaky. I don't know if maybe the white paint underneath didn't dry well enough, or it was the texture of the paint, or I don't know, because the black paint pen worked just fine. But anyways, for some reason, with the orange marker, it was being a little streaky, so for the other two, I do end up using paint instead, and I actually end up painting over the pink one's beak, which I think I do off camera. So I do recommend the paint for this part, unless, I don't know why it didn't work for me, but it didn't. So, yeah, I just used a lighter orange than the feet. So now I am taking my original black paint pen and just outlining everything again to make sure that it's all even, and in case any paint went over, whatever it takes to just kind of put those finishing touches on these guys. I do it for all three of the penguins. I do apologize in a minute here, my big head's gonna get in the way, but basically you get the idea. You're just kind of re-outlining everything so that it all looks crisp and clean. Before I jump into creating my polar bear, which is the next snowy buddy we're gonna make, I wanna show you Connie's Creative Creations channel. She is such a colorful and wonderful creator. I sincerely hope you guys go check out her channel and let her know I sent you. Thank you so much, Connie, for reaching out and asking me to be part of this awesome idea, collab, whatever you want to call it. Thank you so much. Now I'm moving on to my polar bear. So I did do the drawing with the pencil first, but felt like I didn't really need to show you that part again. You just have to know that I looked at a couple pictures. I actually looked at 2 different pictures of polar bear clip art and kind of combined what I liked about both of them and created my outline. So now I'm going through the same steps as the penguins. I'm starting out with outlining with my black paint pen. When I'm done outlining, once again, I am going to take some white paint and just paint the entire thing white and go over with a few extra layers in the areas where I need to. So here you can see it's kind of a hot mess, but I was also trying to cover up some oopsie areas. Now I am outlining the face and getting ready to do some more details. So I've got his nose and muzzle there. I'm doing the eyes kind of similar to the way I did the penguin's eyes. I've got an oval shape and then another oval shape and then a tiny oval shape, and I'm filling in black in the in-between to create the iris. Sorry that my head is in the way and throwing off the focus. It's actually pretty hard filming and knowing when it's looking at the right thing. And then I'm coloring in the nose. The muzzle itself, I ended up drawing the little mouth a little too early because I forgot that you have to paint it gray. So just ignore that I put in the mouth there. I mean, I suppose you could if you wanted to, but I just mixed white and black to create some gray, painting the muzzle with that color, and once that's dry, then I'll go back in and add the mouth. I also, this wasn't in either of the images, but when you look at real pictures of polar bears, you notice that some of their fur has like a yellowish tint to it. So I did take a yellow paint marker also to add in some details or shading wherever I felt like it might need shading. So like where the legs are next to each other, under the chin, by the feet, stuff like that. So that part is totally optional if you don't like that look. I thought it would add some fun detail to it. Oh, also, yeah, I painted the ears with a pastel pink, same color pink as I did the penguin, and it added little rosy cheeks, which I thought was a really sweet touch. So I decided to go even further with this idea, and I didn't like how blunt the ending was of the yellow parts. So I'm just kind of adding some little dashes to create more of an effect of it kind of fading off, where there's a little bit of some yellowness there. I don't know how to describe it, but it just felt too blunt to me the way that it ended. So this is kind of trying to fade it off. However, totally optional. If you don't like this part, you don't have to do it. I questioned some of it too, but I do end up liking it. And I did end up, I must not have recorded it, but I used a darker yellowish orange color in the areas where I thought it would be really darker. So right under the chin and right where the legs are intersecting, it's got a little bit more of an orangish color. I'm taking white here and just covering up where I went a little too crazy with the dashes, which is an option as well. So just basically cleaning it up here. Once that is good to go, I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the penguins, and I'm just re-outlining to make sure I get any areas that may have accidentally been painted over. Using my black paint pen here again. Hello from Winterized Me. I finally replaced my craft knife or my X-Acto knife, so I'm excited about that. And you're just going to cut out your pieces. Now, this part is not very exciting, but I just recommend doing it in chunks. So first, I separated the polar bear from the penguins, and during this first one, I really tried to do like the whole thing around. Not a great idea. It's way more of a hassle when I move on to the penguins or when I get smarter. I realize that chunking it is the easiest. Now, something I learned when I was in school was don't put a whole bunch of pressure on it. It's more important to go over it with 2 or 3 layers or 2 or 3 times and get a clean cut than it is to press really hard, because you could tear the paper, number one, and there's a higher rate of cutting yourself, number two. So keep that in mind. This is obviously sped up, but I'm just kind of easily going over my lines a few times in order to get the cuts the way I want them. The hardest part is anywhere where it's curvy, so I do recommend taking your time with that part. It is a bit more difficult. So here's a little bit later when I'm kind of realizing, oh, I should have done this in pieces or in chunks. And I'm also being careful to get any little like scrap pieces of paper sliced off the edges. And if any of your paper rips, you can always go back over with the black paint pen and you're not really going to notice it. So just keep that in mind. I'm not going to put you through the pain of watching me cut all 4 of these creatures because that sounds awful. But look how cute he is. The polar bear is my favorite. Shh, don't tell the penguins. But here I'm just showing you an example of, okay, I'm just focusing on one section and cutting it off. And that is way more effective and easier than trying to do the whole thing at once like I originally tried. So like I said, that is my advice in terms of cutting these babies out. Yay, now they are ready to spray and finalize. Like I said earlier, and as you can see them lined up here, these would be so cute outside if you had stakes to stick them in the ground. I didn't have any. I didn't even know where to find any, so I'm going to put mine in my window. But what I'm doing here is I'm taking some acrylic sealant, and this one's actually a Mod Podge sealant, but I'm just going to coat these guys. I would recommend, so I do like one long coat here. I would recommend doing probably 3 coats and probably doing the back if you do planning on having them outside where it's going to be a little bit more watery. Like I said, you could use masonite board or something else, but I do recommend doing 3 coats on each side for the best result. Now I am just placing them in my window, nothing fun happening here, but I thought these would be super cute, especially if you have maybe like Christmas lights surrounding your window, so they wouldn't just be cute during the day, but they might be lit up at night if they're surrounded by some Christmas lights. I think that'd be super sweet. I don't have any right now, but maybe I'll buy some. But yeah, this is the final result. I'll give you a little mini tour from the outside of what it looks like, and then show you a couple shots. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you again to Connie for reaching out. I hope you recreate these yourselves. I think these are so fun. Let me know if you do, and if not, then I will see you guys next time. Bye.